We are back with part 3 of the message, our source of impact and influence. So, in this section, you can consider this to be the message lab. Okay, this is where we're going to go to play and we're going to kind of experiment a little bit. So, this really is a playful exercise to discover where your messaging strengths lie, like how you already think about things and which areas of messaging you feel most comfortable in and most creative with, and where you have more freedom of expression, and other areas that maybe are a little bit harder, or a little bit tougher for you. And this is going to be useful both to the message right now, but as we move into the magic section, this will come into play again as we come to understand, are you playing to your strong suit in the way you communicate, right? So this is a doubly useful exercise. And as I say, it's important for you to approach this in a playful way. You are not expected to know the answers in advance. What you're being invited to do here is just to see, like, what kind of answers, if you're put on the spot like now, like right now, and to come up with some stuff, what kind of answers come naturally to you, and which ones do you have to kind of reach and stretch for? Neither is necessarily right. Sometimes the answers that come to us quickly, they're not the right answers, and others that we stretch for are the ones that are eventually being the ones that we really, really come to love. But sometimes it's the opposite way around. This is just a bit of a playful game, and it's going to take you through a lot of different frameworks to ask you to speak about the same thing, but in a different way, right? So, what I want you to do is get really creative. Don't overthink each of your answers. This isn't an opportunity for incredible navel gazing. This is kind of like top of mind awareness. This is stuff that you're thinking off the top of your head, and then be prepared to go deeper. But allow yourself to, allow yourself the right to give silly answers or out there answers or things that, even if you go, well, I'd never actually say that to a person. Just, if it feels true for you in response to the question that's been asked, just answer it anyway, just record it. With each one of these, I'm going to ask you to go at least 3 to 5 layers deep, and some of the questions, I'm going to ask you to go as far as 10, like kind of exhaust all of your answers. This is going to help you come up with the raw materials. I often say that you have to move a lot of coal to get your diamonds, and actually very often when it comes to creating your message, there's no area that's more true than that. You're kind of moving through, okay, here's 10, 20, 30 different iterations of stuff, but that's the one that I really love. And unfortunately, most people don't give themselves the right, so to speak, to come up with so many different iterations from so many different perspectives. So consider yourself given permission here to go to play. You're not going to work, you're going to play. Just relax, chill out, and bring your values to it, bring your beliefs to it, bring your showing up words with it, and actually just really engage in the work, okay? So let's get to it. Let's dive straight into the questions. So question 1, what would you say is the core essence of your life that other people might learn from, right? Like the core essential message, the core essence of the message of your life, what would you say it was? And initially, like, that kind of stumps people to begin with, right? But as you look back on your life, like if Gandhi said, be the change you wish to see in the world, and that really, people would say, yeah, but like, what's your real message? And you're like, no, this is it, and I'm living it, and he was being it, and you can learn from Gandhi's. From the way Gandhi lived his life, that actually that's exactly what his message was. If you were to now retrospectively look back across the course of your life up to this point, up to this very moment, what would you say was the core essence of the message of your life that others might learn from? For many people, this is the most challenging one, right? If I think of mine, obviously it would be kind of cheating for me to just go to the one that we actually already know. We know that my message is established. You don't have to be more than you are to be happy, successful, and free. You just got to be all that you are, right? So it'd be a bit of a cheat to kind of, imagine that I came fully grown as a human into this world with that message already established. I didn't, right? But what I did kind of understand, and if I tracked back my life was actually about growth, for sure. Like, I think everyone's lives are about growth, but I really identified that I was kind of in growth and evolution, and I termed what I was going through awakening, certainly. I thought of all of these things. Like, our job here is actually to wake up, and then that led me to kind of think, well, what are we here to actually wake up to? And what was the way that I was living my life? The way I was living my life, the core essence of the way I was living my life was that I often called myself, like for years I've been calling myself a beautiful weirdo. Like I'm weird, but I love it, and I'm like, the more I embrace who I actually am, the happier I seem to become, and the more people seem to listen to me. And that would have been before the kind of the highly sanitized version of you don't have to be more than you are, right? It's just that you can be successful being a complete version of you, just being authentic, showing up as who you really are. That would have been the core essence of my life up until the point where I defined it the way I currently do. What would be the core essence of yours? What would be the core essence of yours? And then what would be some of the cliches around it, right? Every kind of lesson or idea or ideal even has a cliche attached to it, doesn't it? We can have cliches for everything. So again, like part of my cliche was awakening and enlightenment and all of these kind of things. And I was heavily influenced by Buddhism, of course. As anyone who knows me and knows I'm not a Buddhist, but I'm heavily influenced by Buddhism. But these are some of the things. It was like enlightenment, awakening. So then there were kind of like aspects of Buddhism that came in there, and I kind of realized that, well, I'm not looking to be an offshoot of Buddhism, so I'm not looking to form a religion, and it is Buddhism in some respects, but it's not quite Buddhism, and it is enlightenment. I really do believe that kind of that's definitely one of the cliches, but that's not the only thing. And then I hit upon this kind of cliche of the guru, right? They're like, that's what I'm doing. I'm about like going out into the world, sharing, like shining light on people, and ultimately mostly as an experience, as a reflection of the experience of me shining light on myself. So what are some of the cliches around you? Like other people who've come on the GuRu project, like their cliches have included like being a lighthouse, kind of warning people off from the rocks and kind of shining in the light in those ways. Other people have talked about being a lifeboat, right? Or kind of the equivalent of being even a lifeguard, like someone that stands by, watches everyone play and swimming and having fun. Here's the point: that you're not limited to one cliche. Don't try and make it too perfect. Again, what we're trying to do here is get some feel for like what are all of the cliches that you can think about how others might interpret your life message, or even how you have at times when you've said, actually, no, what I really see myself as being is a. And I've spoken to people who like that they've spoken about being like what I am really is like a mechanic. I'm a mechanic of life. I kind of look into I pop the hood and I look into people's lives and I see what's not working properly, and I kind of twist a few nuts and bolts here and there, and suddenly the engine starts to run smoother. There's all kinds of cliches. What are yours? What are yours? What are some of the cliches that you would say most accurately represent kind of how you kind of think about your message and your core essential message in your journey? Question 3: in what ways are the cliches true? Like in what way? If I come back to what way is enlightenment true? Yeah, it is true. Like I'm shining the light, and these are the aspects of how I see the cliche as matching up directly with that, right? But now that leads us to the next question: in what ways are the cliches incomplete? Okay, well, I wouldn't say it was incomplete. Like when I really thought about this for myself, the cliche of enlightenment wasn't incomplete. Yeah, enlightenment is simply enlightenment, right? But I saw it as being, rather than just like it is enlightenment, it is a person who has dedicated their life to helping others to become enlightened, to helping others to awaken to themselves, and the fact that kind of they're beautiful weirdos themselves, and actually they are more beautiful the more they show their weirdo-ness, right? The more they show their weirdness. So kind of again, these were some of the ways in which the cliche of enlightenment in itself felt incomplete to me, because I felt that it was more about helping people to understand how they can embrace their weirdness as well as just the enlightenment aspect. Hopefully that makes sense. How would you complete the cliche in order to match your beliefs about it? So, kind of based upon if there's a cliche, the cliche is complete or is incomplete. Like if you were to improve, that's a better way of putting it maybe. If you were to improve upon the cliche, how would you improve upon it? It doesn't matter if you like mix metaphors or twist the cliche up. Like if you could just kind of say, it's like that cliche is technically correct. Like I'm a bit like a mechanic, but I'm also like this, right? Or I'm a bit like a lighthouse, but I'm also like that. Or this would better describe what I'm trying to say. Okay, and if you're sat there right now, like you're scratching your head and we're going, oh my God, this is going to be really, really tough. Right? Remember what I said. This is the idea of this is for you to be playful with it. Just relax and let things come. And remember, allow yourself the silly answers. Because in truth, there are no silly answers. That's what, in many respects, that's what we're really trying to do here. We're trying to understand how your brain thinks and how it communicates and what it does come up with and what it really struggles to come up with. So don't beat yourself up if you're having challenges around it. This is really like I say, it's a lab, right? You're carrying out a bit of an experiment to actually understand how your brain thinks about communication. Now this is where we get into a really interesting part of this, because I'm going to ask you to add different qualities to the message as you currently understand it. And remember, like, your message doesn't have to be, and we're not looking for the message to be polished. We're in the process of trying to polish it. So if you go all the way back and you kind of said, well, what I think my life message up to this point would actually kind of signify to other people, what I think is the core essence of my life's message right now is this. And then what I'm going to ask you to do is add power to the message, right? And when I'm talking about power, I'm talking about it in a very specific way. Power is the bold and strong expression of statements or opinions, right? So I'm going to ask you to kind of get more and more opinionated, at least 3 to 5 layers deep with this, right? Like, so if I say, so a way, for example, is if I were to say, okay, you don't have to be more than you are, you just got to be all that you are. I could add power to this by actually making it a bolder statement, right? Expressing a stronger opinion. You will never become who you want to be until you embrace all of who you are, right? Can you see how that's taking it from kind of one level to a stronger, deeper, more opinionated level, right? If like I could continue taking this on as like think of several layers deep, at least 3, ideally 5, right? And then test yourself, like what is the deepest you are willing to go? What is the boldest you'd be willing to go with a statement? Like if you don't do these things, you're consigning yourself to misery and you'll never get what you want. For example, right? There's just an example of taking it all the way out, like the boldest level. Now, what's really important is for you to play through this process, and maybe you take it out to a ridiculous level. Like maybe you just make it really extreme, but then work it back and say that, to be honest, this is about as far. This is the depth of how bold I would like to go with this. This is the depth of how much power, how much of a strong opinion I'd like to put against it. I like it as a statement, but kind of I don't feel really great when I push the opinion out too far and become too bold, right? In a way, that's really what we're trying to uncover here. Like, what is the extent of your boldness? What is the extent of the strength of an opinion that you would feel comfortable making a statement to the world about? You will always, you will never, you must always, you must never, that kind of thing. Like, how far can you take the boldest aspect of your existing life message up to this point? So next, you're going to add passion to it by adding emotion-evoking descriptions, right? Kind of, in my terminology, I often call this kind of flowery language, right? Like how much would you flower this up? So a variant, kind of in my lifetime that I took this out to, which was inspired by, or was from Conversation with God, which was this idea of creating the greatest version of the grandest vision of life you ever imagined for yourself, right? You can see how that's in motion. The greatest version of the grandest vision. It's a bit flowery. It's a bit poetic, right? What would be your versions of that? Again, take them 3 to 5 deep, and then see how far you're willing to take the floweriness, the kind of the poetic language of that, the kind of the expansive and the expressive, right? See how far you're willing to go with that. And what point does it just become icky and horrible? And at what point you go, actually, I like it up to there, but I didn't like it there. And again, at least 3 to 5 deep, because we need to kind of see kind of where are you going to start in with this, and where's it going to go to, right? Next, add curiosity. Again, wipe away passion now, right? We're back at the core essential message of your life as it's been lived up to this point. Now we're going to add curiosity. And we add curiosity by turning things into questions. Like, for example, here's an example. Who would you be if you if you kind of lived life as your naked self, for example, right? Who would you like? What would life be like for you if you lived life as your naked self? And what that means, for me, as I say that, is like stripping away all the masks, right? There's another one, kind of, who are you without the mask, right? Do you know how? Do you know how to be happy without your mask? All of this kind of thing, which is kind of in support of and saying the same thing, isn't it? It's not exactly the same, but you can see how by turning it into a question, I'm transmuting the original thing, which is kind of that there's the beautiful weirdo, and kind of we're here to be our full selves and all of that kind of stuff. And now I'm starting to ask questions. That question might extend out to kind of how many masks do you wear, and how do you know who's the real you, or when's the last time you met the real you? All of these kind of things, you can see that I'm taking a very similar approach. I'm sort of saying the same thing, but by turning it into a question, I've brought curiosity into the picture, but I've also kind of had to make myself think through the process. And this is, even teaching this at the moment is actually quite challenging for me, because my existing message is very well established for me. So I remember back in the day going through these processes, but now that it's so well established, I'm actually finding it quite challenging to even break it down and like pull all the parts out of it now. It's so kind of ingrained in who I am and how I think now. Okay, but once again, think about how you can bring that curiosity. Now wipe curiosity away and bring creativity to it. And creativity really means, basically you are making something that didn't exist, right? And so one way that we can often make something that doesn't exist is by disrupting expectation and going the other way, to whatever other people are currently saying about things, right? So other people are saying, for example, you have to do these things to become successful. And what am I teaching with the GuRu project, right? I'm teaching people not to put their clients first and not to put others first. Like creativity, disrupting expectation. Put yourself at the center of your universe. Be selfish. Teach, tell, and sell what you feel personally inspired and motivated by, right? Create your life for you. Create everything in your life for you, right? You can see how it's different to expectation. Most people who are talking about doing good in the world are talking about going out into the world as people who are creating stuff for others. Go and find what the world needs and create it. I'm actually adding creativity by disrupting expectation around what most people would think I'm saying when I'm sharing the stuff I'm talking about, right? So again, how would you do that? Add drama to it by bringing story and metaphor. Well, in my sense, I actually already do that. Like the metaphor and the storyline is one of a guru, it's one of enlightenment and all the rest of it. What would your kind of process be within that, right? So there's a bit of a crossover here, because for me, it's not always the case, but for me, the cliche and the metaphor of they're pretty similar. Okay. Add authority to it. Authority is by bringing examples and data, and that might be kind of testimonial kind of information, not so much pure testimony, but more like the 67% of all people who are struggling with self-esteem are struggling with this kind of thing. So it's data, it's examples. You add authority by bringing in outside in this sense. You add authority by bringing outside data and outside examples in to reinforce your story. Okay, and then add trust by confirming what they already know, right? So think about it, what do people already know about this, right? You already know that you're not happy wearing the mask. You already know that the times when you feel best in life are when you're feeling not judged, and when you're feeling like you're just able to be your true naked self, that you're able to show up as who you really are without worrying about what people think and what people say and all the rest of it. How many elements of your life message can you bring, confirming what people already know about the topic that you want to share a message about? Because here's an interesting thing. Most people think that they have to create something. Well, I don't know, how do I create something unique and new and all the rest of it? Because people already know this, right? Well, actually, this is where we bring the element of trust. This is where you can actually gain a lot of trust by saying to people, you already know this, and you already know this, and you already know this, right? How much trust can you bring? Again, at least 3 to 5 layers deep. If you can go further, write down, scroll down. What do they actually already know? Add vision to it by telling people where the new approach could take them, right? Like, if you do this for 30 days, this could happen. If you do this, what I'm teaching you for a whole year, these things could happen. If you were to just apply the principles that I'm teaching in the GuRu project, and you did this, your relationships would change. This would happen, that would happen. So this is where you kind of paint the new future for them. That's what vision's about. Wipe that one away. Add love to the picture by essentially telling people what you wish for them. Like, I wish for you a future where you get to wake up every day and you get to work with the kind of client, like doing the kind of work you want to do with the kind of people you want to do it with, in the places where you most want to do it, at the times, and getting paid what you want. Like, I want those things for you. I want you to have more fun, more freedom, more fulfillment, more financial success. I want you to have impact and influence and a ton more income, right? I want your work to stop being your work, and I want it to be a place where you actually go and experience yourself at your very, like, all those things, right? Tell people what you wish for them. And again, this isn't, keep away from marketing lingo and all that kind of stuff, and actually just be genuine. Like, what would you really, really wish for people if they were kind of embracing your message, right? So can you see how this all starts to come together? We've got lots and lots of different qualities, which when you put those qualities together, you end up with, like I said, we create a lot of coal to move a lot of diamonds, or we move a lot of coal to create a lot of diamonds. We are creating a lot of coal here. Don't take it too, I mean, don't be flippant with it, but don't take it too seriously. Like, some areas you are going to find, oh my God, I've got like 20, 30 things I can say in there. And in this one, I'm like, oh my God, like writing down 2 things took me 20 minutes and I'm already scratching them in. Don't worry, that is actually part of the point of this. Don't quit on it just because it's hard though. You may actually go for a cup of coffee, go for a walk, come back. And you actually may find that you've gotten much clearer than you thought you were. But this is just an interesting way of bringing different qualities to kind of fleshing out different. It's like standing at different points on a compass and looking back at the same thing. The thing is your life message as you've lived it up to now. And you stand in the north and you look back on the position you're in. You go, oh, that's what it looks like. But when you look at it from the south, it looks different. When you look at it from the east, it looks different. And from the west, it looks different again. And this is what you're being asked to do. Like, look at the core essence of your life message up to this point, and now just like look at it from different angles. If I was being more flowery, if I was being more assertive, if I was being more future oriented, if I was being more loving, if I was being, and like, just see what you come up with. See what the kind of the core, what the core essential message of your life transmutates into. Okay, so that's it. That's the exercise. It's very, very simple. Doesn't mean it's easy, but it's simple, and just relax into it, have fun, and I'll see you on the other side.